It's been tax season, y'all. I've been working. So I have not been doing content like I should. And I know I'm always saying I'm gonna do better. I am truly gonna do better this time. And but yeah, tax season has been very, very interesting. I just wanted to share some information on that. These returns have gotten like I'm don't normally wear blazers and buttons up every day. I usually look a hot mess. But today I'm actually teaching a class here at Tech Town Detroit to the Building Better Communities group. I work with them maybe 1 to 2 times a year for the last almost I think this is the third year, so it's pretty exciting. It's a group of real estate developers, and they're amazing, so I'm always excited to come back and share some insight and get some information and just learn from everybody too. So, teachers, you got to be able to, you got to be a lifetime learner as well. But one of the, I was talking about tax returns this year. Tax season this year. Woo, Lord, the returns have gotten so complex. I love it. I do, because I love solving problems. But it is really challenging, and I'm speaking on it because I feel like the industry as a whole has really downplayed the nature of tax preparation, right? It makes it sound like, and at one point, TurboTax had a commercial like, everybody's a tax preparer. And technically, everybody can be. But should it be, right? Like, do you understand where these formulas are coming from? Do you understand how the numbers are populating? Do you understand what number ties to what number? And also the consequences of certain actions, right? Like, did you contribute to this thing versus this thing? Can you contribute to this and get a deduction, right? A lot of times people sell you on tax credits, but can you even use them? Is it something that you even need? So those are things to think about. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to people about is like pulling the trigger on things sometimes too soon. I've run into a lot of encounters with people this tax season who have it's sunny out here, guys. I'm in Michigan. And I've run into this a lot of people this tax season who have elected to have their businesses treated as S Corps and have done nothing else, like just set up had the S Corp election put in place. But, the minute I'm like, well, can you send over your W-2 as well? And, W-2 for who? And for yourself, because you're supposed to be on payroll if you're S Corp. And it's like, oh, I didn't do that. And I'm like, okay, so what have you done? And it's basically just set the paperwork up. And then a lot of times the income level is not even there to even make it make sense. So, if you're only making a few dollars, then yeah, you can't take payroll because there's nothing to take payroll from. And you've also added an additional expense because now you have a separate tax return. I do want to say this because I think a lot of times we just assume that people know things, and if this stuff isn't talked about all the time. So if you're a sole proprietor and you haven't elected to be treated as an LLC or anything, you're just a sole proprietor, you've started your business, your taxes will be filed, your business income and expenses will be reported on a Schedule C with all of your other personal information. It's just one tax return. Whereas if you get an LLC, same scenario. If you're a single member LLC, it's just you, and you get an LLC just for you, for your business, it will still report on a Schedule C if it's a business on your personal tax return. It still reports if you're a single member LLC. Now, once you elect, it must be pollen in the air. Once you elect to be treated as, say, an S Corp or C Corp, then that business comes off of your personal tax return and it gets its own tax return, right? And so in that instance, you'll have a separate tax return. So a lot of people have been elected to be treated as S Corps and pull their business off of their personal return to its own return, but there needs to be numbers there that substantiate the reason for you being there. And I know back in the day I used to say that, I recommended being an S Corp when you hit about 40,000 net. And I've shifted that. I say about 60 to 65K net because of the expenses that go with being an S Corp. Payroll, not only the payroll service, then you need to have your books in order. You can't just be running this with through receipts at this point. You need to actually have a bookkeeping system and a process, right? You're running a business. Remember, business is about growth. So in order to grow it, you got to fund it. And so when you either select an S Corp option or C Corp option, election, let me use the right terminology, election, then you actually pull that in for your business off of your personal return, and you have a separate tax return. So again, that's an additional expense. And then you need to, whenever you have an S Corp or a C Corp or a nonprofit, the first thing we're going to ask you for as accountants is, hey, send over your profit and loss statement, send over your balance sheet, your financial statements. If you don't have a system to keep track of those things, then you're scrambling, right? But in order to do things the right way and to really be able to, you're investing time in your business, you're investing money in your business, make sure you're doing it the right way. If you're not in business to stay stagnant, you're in business to grow. In order to grow, you gotta water it. And watering it means to put money in, time in, and invest in it, and making sure, and that investment it involves putting systems in place, your bookkeeping system, your operations system, your management system, your marketing system, right? Remember I talked about the pillars of business, the 4 legs of business, right? So we go back to that again. You got to have your operations, your management, your finance, and I always forget one. God, it'll come back to me. Operations, management, marketing, and finance. That's it. It's the FOAM method. That's what I call it. So finance, operations, administration, and management. And administration just means basically you're keeping things in order, right? How's this business moving? How's this business growing? Who's managing this thing? But the one thing that I want to make sure that you're being mindful of is, when you're reporting this stuff, you have to be able to substantiate it, right? And so if you put a number on your form, if you were audited, where would I go back and be able to prove this number, right? And it can't be it can be a receipt, but it can't be a faded receipt, right? It needs to be something that you've actually processed properly, and I get it. A lot of times we're running our businesses so fast and things are moving and we're exhausted by the end of the day, right? But at the same time, there should be some systems, get some standard operating processes in your business, and talk to someone who can help you get those things in place. And there's really a team member for every part of that business. Even if you're the head of the business to start, at some point in order to grow, you have to put the right people and systems in place